Welcome to Elementary Greek. Get ready for your life to change over the next several weeks, and as you continue into Elementary Greek 2, the next several months, you will enjoy the New Testament in ways that you never have before. You'll be able to see God's Word more clearly and be encouraged by His Spirit more deeply. Let me pray and ask God's blessing on your course of study, and then we will overview our basic course textbook. The first couple of chapters here, Bill Mounce's Basics of Biblical Greek. Lord, minister to students over the next few weeks and months and years as you help them to know of you more by seeing your word more clearly by studying Greek. Give them confidence in you and in your word. We ask in Christ's name. When we think about any language, we want to think about the particular time period of that language and that literature that we are studying. And when we think about the New Testament, there's a certain time period that we're focusing on, and we need to have a respect for the broader history of Greek. So Mounce helps us to do that and helps us by thinking first about the classical period of Greek and Homer, the early period, the 8th century BC, to Plato's time, the great philosopher. As the 4th century comes to a close, Greek is spoken in 3 dialects, and you can see those here. We move from the classical period to the Hellenistic period, and this Hellenistic period, this is the period that really leads to the spread of the Greek language because of Alexander the Great and his conquests in a short period of time. Alexander conquered a good portion of the world, and he influenced those places, including Egypt, Palestine, Syria, with the Greek language. Well, this leads to the Koine period, the Common period. Koine, and you see the Greek word here, koine, the first Greek word that we are looking at, with some letters kappa, omicron, iota, nu, and eta. Koine. This means common. It can mean common language, common other ideas, can mean unclean, just common, not special. It's just the common language of the day. The New Testament is written not in a special dialect, but just in the normal speech and patterns of language and words that everyday folks spoke in the ancient language. And that developed as a part of Alexander's Attic Greek and its conflation with these other languages in Egypt and Palestine and Syria. And this commonness allowed the spread of the gospel message. It's Alexander's conquest that provides common language, roads, commerce, and Christianity can be understood by the masses and not just the elite. When we think about the necessity of learning Greek, I have here a picture of the Nestle-Aland text, which you have as one of your course textbooks. And here on the top of the text, we have just the text itself. The verses and chapters are just like an English translation. So you can find your way around in your Greek text. I would suggest opening up even now, pausing the screencast for a moment, and whatever you read most recently in the New Testament, maybe it was this morning, maybe yesterday, perhaps a recent sermon in the New Testament, try to find that in Greek and look at the top. You can see the page, or the chapter and verse designations are going to line up for you. And then you can notice the bottom of the text. Now, in many study Bibles, the information down here is a series of notes, ideas, explanations, applications. But in the Nestle-Aland text, what we have down here is not an explanation of the words at the top of the page, but an explanation of the manuscripts. Down here, an explanation of the manuscripts that are the basis of the words up here. So when we have a text like the Mesolon text, the editors will look at the various manuscripts down here and compare those, and based upon those comparisons, compile words here and phrases and sentences that give us our English text. So why learn Greek is the question? Because there is no one single manuscript that is the basis of our Greek text or Bibles. We are looking at a number of manuscripts, and we see one here, which is from the P46 papyri here, and this is the beginning of Hebrews, and the papyri here you can see toward the bottom is fraying over time, but this papyri, the words that are here are compared with other papyri and other texts, and that comparison leads to the compilation of a Greek text, and it's from those compilations that we get our English translation. So it's important to learn Greek because there are several steps involved. Step 1 is looking at texts like this. Step 2 is looking at how many other texts besides just this one compare, and then bringing those together into a Greek text. And then step 3 is taking that Greek text into an English translation that we would read and take with us to church. That's why we need to learn Greek. As Mounts has stated, the only people I have heard say that Greek's not important are those who don't know it themselves. So the value is in learning it, and then you see its value increasing as you go. So let me set out just a couple of ideas for learning here. And many of the ideas I've stated in this video will be unpacked in the months to come. First, the key to learning Greek is to memorize. We just memorize, just as if you learned French or German, if you've learned any other language, Spanish. You have to memorize. You have to memorize vocab. You have to memorize patterns of nouns and verbs. Those are called paradigms. I encourage you to get hold of a voice recorder. You can get one on your phone. If you have a smartphone, number of apps that can be used, and begin to record vocab and grammatical paradigms into your voice recorder, your own voice, and listen as you exercise, as you're cooking dinner, whatever the case would be. Now, the more comical that you can be, silly even, the more likely you will remember the vocab that you're working on, the paradigms, and it will help you. If you can be comical and consistent, you're going to be down the road. So here's the daily discipline that you need to have in mind. I suggest twice per day. Once, 15 minutes before breakfast, 45 minutes after dinner. If you allot that much time, 4 to 5 days a week for Greek, you could likely get an A in this class, because you will give your brain time between this study session and the evening study session to learn. And it's in this space where you're not thinking about these ideas directly that your brain can assimilate and grasp what we're looking at. So begin to look through chapters 3 and 4 and watch those videos to come.